Hi all. I just saw in the news today a report from the Free Press about a new lawsuit arising from the pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University in New York. And specifically, this lawsuit is filed by two janitors who were accosted and held hostage, according to the report on the lawsuit. And it's alleged in the lawsuit, as reported in the Free Press, the perpetrators donned masks and hoods, which the lawsuit characterizes as, and I quote, reminiscent of the Ku Klux Klan. And according to the report, the lawsuit alleges that the protests, and specifically taking over the campus and accosting the two janitors, was, and I'm quoting, part of a broad pro-Hamas anti-Semitic network of organizations, groups, and cells that are connected through a largely untraceable underground communication system. And the lawsuit goes on to allege that the purpose is, and I again quote, to promote and resort to violent and illegal tactics and are motivated by invidious discrimination against Jews and supporters of Jews. I would note these two individuals do in fact claim personal injuries, along with the distress of being falsely imprisoned. The lawsuit alleges, and I again quote, the occupiers named in Torres and Wilson's lawsuit include leaders of Columbia's most vocal anti-Israel groups, like the Columbia University Apartheid Divest Coalition, Students for Justice in Palestine, and Jewish Voices for Peace. The Free Press also reports on another lawsuit, a somewhat earlier lawsuit that I think I may have been aware of, on behalf of two students, a professor, and a rabbi at UCLA. And in that lawsuit, according to the Free Press, it's alleged, and again I quote, National Students for Justice in Palestine, Faculty for Justice in Palestine Network, American Muslims for Palestine, and Westchester People's Action Coalition engaged in a coordinated campaign of egregious acts of racial exclusion, intimidation, and assault, and that this was for the purpose to intimidate Jewish students, faculty, and staff. It's interesting how sometimes life imitates art, or art proceeds on a basis of not knowing some of the facts and turns out to be right. But in my novel, Caught in the Campus Crossfire, the victim of the shooting, the fictional shooting, is actually not Jewish. He's Hispanic. He's a Latino. He's Mexican American. And in this actual lawsuit at Columbia, the two janitors are not Jewish. The one, it appears from the last name, Torres, is Hispanic. And as in Caught in the Campus Crossfire, they're just two individuals having nothing to do with the protest or the dispute or controversy. They just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And as in the novel, the failure of the university to protect these specifically targeted individual Jewish students from intimidation, threats, harassment, and violence ended up spilling over and impacting people who had nothing to do with the matter. In Caught in the Campus Crossfire, the lawsuit is filed against a radical Muslim student organization and the leader of the organization who actually solicited the shooting. And so now it's interesting that in these real life lawsuits arising out of Columbia and UCLA, the lawsuits are targeting radical Islamic organizations for violence. And again, this may be like imitating art, but I would suggest that this is really the best means of discouraging uh, illegal conduct, violent conduct, criminal acts, criminal anti-Semitic violence, because so often the individuals who are aroused to protest, they really don't know what they're doing. They're oftentimes anonymous, oftentimes can't be discovered. Even if they could be found out, it's difficult to get to them. They don't have assets. They're difficult to pursue. And so the best means to achieve justice and discourage this kind of thing may be to go after these organizations through civil litigation. And in Caught in the Campus Crossfire, I made the point referencing a true life event. In the 1980s, there was a former member, Grand Dragon of the KKK, by the last name of Metzger. And he started an organization, a white supremacist organization, neo-Nazi organization called WAR, the White Aryan Resistance. And he got sued. There was a murder, a tortured murder actually, of an Ethiopian college student who happened also to be a father of a youngster, Mulugeta Sarah, up in Portland. And the Southern Poverty Law Center sued Metzger and his organization WAR for being behind the murder civilly. No criminal charges were ever brought because there may have not been a strong enough case to proceed criminally. But there was enough to go after him civilly, and the Southern Poverty Law Center succeeded and ultimately put Metzger and WAR out of business. And so here we are in a similar situation with the campus protests resulting in violence. And there are some tools that are readily available in a civil action, not just direct conduct in the activities, in the protest activities, but conspiring to cause the harm, to cause the violence. And so we have for many years now these statutes called RICO statutes under federal law. And RICO stands for Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. And these are broader conspiracy laws, but they're general conspiracy laws. And in New York and California, where these incidents arose, they also have state statutes that are like RICO. And even under the criminal statutes, the criminal RICO statutes, you can go ahead with a civil action based on those statutes, at least in California. There's a case I actually represented the young lady. It was a statutory rape case. And for reasons that are not necessary to go into now, it was absolutely imperative that we be able to proceed under the criminal statutory rape statute because it afforded protections that the civil law did not. And the trial judge dismissed the case, and it went up on appeal, and in a published appellate opinion, the Court of Appeal held that, yes, you can proceed in certain circumstances in a civil action based on the violation of a criminal statute. So the lesson of all this is that cutting off the head of the state, going after the organizations who are organizing, inciting, and causing the violence and coordinating the events, that may be the best means of protecting students and campuses from violence and making sure that people have protected First Amendment protest rights, but that those rights do not go to the extent of violating other people's rights to have a safe student environment.